Welcome to the FA Football Forum. This podcast episode was from a series delivered back in 2020 to help support grassroots clubs and leagues. This was delivered on a webinar platform and therefore may not make too much sense unless you've got the documentation to hand, all of which is available within the description below. With this being delivered during lockdown, sometimes the audio quality may differ. Please bear that in mind. But as always, if you've got any questions or you've got any inquiries in particular to this episode or any other episode, please reach out to us by emailing clubsprogram@thefa.com.
So you're all here this evening for our last in the series of our marketing webinars, and this one is looking at how marketing can help generate income, which is obviously a key topic not only in our grassroots world without COVID, but even more so in the current climate we find ourselves in. This webinar is definitely something that will be of use to you all, will be of benefit, and obviously you are all here to find out more information. So welcome. So if you haven't been on one of our webinars before, my name's Danielle. I am the National Club Services Manager here at the Football Association. I say here, I'm not at Wembley or St George's Park. I am in sunny Essex, which is where I live. And if you haven't joined us on our previous webinars and would like to find out more information, you can contact myself through the clubs program at thefa.com. So just to recap on those webinars that we have covered, which you may want the recording and slide deck for, we have covered what do we stand for, which is looking at values and vision of your club or league. How do we know we've made it, which is defining success. Business continuity planning, which was all around how you plan through times of uncertainty, times that we currently find ourselves in. How to use marketing to build for the future, how to use social media effectively. And last week we looked at how marketing can support growth and sustain participation. So like I say, if you haven't captured those, and this is the first time joining us this evening, welcome, but where on earth have you been for the last 6 weeks? I won't hold it against you because you are here this evening, which is obviously great to see, but there's some really good content. So I definitely recommend emailing clubsprogram@thefa.com for more information. So I did just skip past this slide, so I'll just revisit this slide for you. Everything I hopefully have covered already, but please do mute your mics if you have just recently joined us and you find that your microphone icon is on the white outline. It does need to be on the red outline. Please do look to turn off your cameras as well, just so I can keep the bandwidth and internet connection as strong as possible, so the recording can be clear and crisp for those that can't join us this evening. For those that can't, as well as yourselves, if you do need to dip out at any point, this is being recorded, and the recording and content and slide deck will be shared with you before the weekend, so you can have that to hand and share internally with your committee members or recap at your own leisure. And just around questions, as everyone is muted at this moment in time, please do use the chat function, which is available on your screen. Please do pop any questions in there. I'll be across the chat function this evening while our presenter Charlotte looks to cover the content, and our guest speaker Darren will look to cover this piece. So please do ask any questions in the chat, and I will ask Charlotte or Darren at the end of the presentation, just so we can keep the content clean and clear for those, again, that are maybe capturing this at a later date. So what are we going to cover today? We are looking at the marketing methods to help you generate an income. We're looking at different methods of generating income and how these methods can be maximised by marketing. And obviously, very important opportunity to ask any questions you may have. So without further ado, I am going to introduce Charlotte Richardson. Charlotte, are you there? That's always a good start, just to check that you have joined us.
Yeah, Danielle, I am here. I'm good to go.
Brilliant, great stuff. So like I say, this is Charlotte's last webinar. Charlotte's been fantastic in the delivery over the last 3 weeks, and I'm sure those that have joined us regularly will kind of join me in saying what a great job she's done, and I know she's going to end this webinar on a high. So Charlotte, over to you.
Thank Thank you very much, Danielle. That's a lovely introduction, and good evening, everyone. And thank you for joining us this evening when it's such a glorious evening outside. It is our final marketing webinar presented to you by the Football Association. And for those of you who haven't tuned in before, my name is Charlotte Richardson, and as Danielle has just said, I've been helping to deliver content around marketing for the past few weeks, leading up to, I suppose, what we'd call this finale, which is about one of the biggest and probably one of the most important challenges for grassroots football organisations, and that's how to generate income. Before we get going, for those of you who haven't tuned in before, now seems a good time to just tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a chartered marketeer with 7 years experience working in football. I've worked for a county football association, a professional EFL club within the non-league game and the women's game. I currently sit as a volunteer on the committee of the Kent Youth League and am a trustee of the Kent FA's Pioneering Charitable Foundation. I recently joined the FA as a club consultant, which has been a brilliant opportunity for me to work closely with a handful of clubs, supporting them in various ways. What I love about this is the ability to reach lots and lots of you, and it's great to see so many of you tuned in. What I hope to do this evening, and hopefully have done over the past few webinars, is draw all of this experience from my career together to share some knowledge, highlight best practice, and provide you with some examples to help inspire you for the future, whether you signed up on behalf of a team, a club, a league, or some other form of organisation. Danielle and I have been really taken aback by the number of sign-ups and the fantastic engagement and questions we've had, so thank you all so much for tuning in. And at this point, I think it's important to know that something I've acknowledged each week is that with the great number of sign-ups that these marketing webinars have generated, it does mean we have a diverse range of volunteers and organisations tuned in. So throughout the slides, I will do my best to impart knowledge that can be applicable to as many of you as possible. The theory behind the ideas and the tools to generate income apply no matter where you're from in the football pyramid or your size or your structure. Now, not every example will feel suitable, but perhaps they can be tweaked and tailored to be advantageous for you. Certainly, I hope the webinar as a whole will provide you with a means to map out some plans and gain some clarity around the strategic value marketing can bring when looking to generate income. And there's a reason we placed this topic of income generation last in our series, as over the past few weeks, we've comprehensively investigated and examined the benefits of marketing, the different marketing tools at our disposal, and how the application of marketing can help our organisations grow and sustain themselves. I strongly believe this information provides some sturdy foundations for clubs, leagues of any description to build for the future. And if you were unable to catch any of them, as Danielle says, do get in touch, as you may find them useful and reinforcing of this evening's content. So returning to the point, we've left income generation until last because with a more comprehensive understanding, and I'd like to think a wider appreciation of the benefits of marketing, now is a good opportunity to apply some firmer focus on the topic of generating income. I'll be taking you through suggestions of how marketing can be applied and delivered to generate income in a multitude of ways through advertising, fundraising, commercialisation, services and innovation. And with every webinar we've done, alongside the talk will be some action with examples and experience, and included in this is a section provided by a guest from our football community. And this week I'm really pleased to be joined by Darren Perrin from Melksham Town Football Club. Darren will introduce himself properly later on and take you through the journey his club have been on in recent years to generate income in both some simple and practical ways, and in some pioneering and imaginative ways too. So let's get on with the webinar. Now, of course, I doubt generating income is the primary motivation or reason any of us get involved and dedicate our time to the grassroots game. We give up the hours we do for many reasons, mostly around the satisfaction when we deliver football opportunities for all. However, one massively important part of running the game and the organisations we're a part of is generating income. Without it, we can't survive, let alone thrive. As custodians of the game, we always have to have one eye on the future and the other on the accounts. Every penny counts, and there are ways marketing can drive income generation. These include commercialisation, advertising, lead generation, innovating and fundraising. So if I can have the next slide, please, Danielle. Commercialisation, if I skip one more, please, Danielle, sorry. This is the best place to start because the simple marketing key here lies in your approach. Your approach means you need to think a little bit differently about your football club, league and organisation. We have to apply some strategic marketing thinking to look at them more like businesses. Now, I know this can be a bit unpopular to think of our stakeholders as customers and the things that we hold dearest about our football clubs as assets. Yet I would advise to have at least a few people within your organisation who have this kind of mindset or skill set. Involve and empower them to help your club generate income. So when it comes to commercialisation, we have to look at the definition itself. Commercialisation is to organise something to make a profit. Thus, we have to be pragmatic and organise ourselves to help make profit. The first thing marketing enables us to do is identify what products we have at our disposal to make money from. Examples of these include, but are not limited to, your ground. Danielle, perfect, thank you, Danielle. It's your primary asset because it's the hub of your footballing activity. It's the epicentre of your organisation and offers great exposure due to the football you accumulate on a daily, weekly and monthly basis. Your ground offers external stakeholders the chance to advertise in front of your localised community. This can be done in multiple ways. The one we're probably all most familiar with is pitch side advertising. It's one of the most traditional ways of selling to business. There are other opportunities, including entrance or road sign advertising, which is something you might want to consider at your club or organisation. Have you also ever taken into account the opportunity to offer outward-looking space? If you've got busy roads and footpaths around your organisation, the reach you can offer advertisers is even greater, especially if you own the land. You're well within your rights to capitalise upon it, but always double check with your local authority. There are also some creative ways to use your ground as branding spotlights for partners, from your dugouts to behind goalposts. Don't rule anything out. And if there's something unique about your ground or setup, have a think about how a company's brand could get involved. Some of the bigger leading companies with the bigger budgets want to be involved with something a little bit more bespoke, more tailored and more original. So in those slides, there are all photos taken from the work I've done at Margate Football Club. If we move on to the next slide, your kit. Again, it's another very traditional asset to attract sponsorship income. Kit deals are standard practice as they offer very obvious exposure and reach. If we think about the number of teams within our setup, the games they play, the miles of travel they amass during a season, that's a physical reach that has traditionally appealed to business. That, combined with the feel-good factor and PR value. However, when negotiating your fee for kit sponsorship, don't forget it has a digital value too. Every photo shared across social media, every picture uploaded to your website, every video highlights package uploaded to YouTube repurposes the value of a sponsorship deal. It increases the reach and impressions a brand gets, adding value to their agreement with you. And I am conscious we have a number of leagues on the call this evening, so I'm sure you probably distribute kit and stuff to your volunteers, so there's opportunity there perhaps on the back of coats and kit that your volunteers wear out on a weekly basis. But when it comes to gaining commercial value out of your kit, also consider the different variations of kit that you have. It's not just your matchday kit you can sell for commercial value. There are training and travel kits too. Additionally, and perhaps more relevantly to those of you tuned in from clubs higher up the pyramid, there are spaces on your kit other than the front of the shirt, sleeve and short sponsorship, back of the shirt sponsorship, captain's armband sponsorship, empower you to appeal to multiple brands who want to get involved but might not have the big lump sum and the budget required to stretch to the most expensive offer you have. And a final tip for those of you involved again with steps 2 to 3, with a senior men's women's team, where you sell your shirt to supporters and external stakeholders, think about personalisation. Personalisation is one of the key consumer trends at the moment, as buying habits suggest that the bespoke and personal is extremely desirable and is known to boost sales. Personalisation can be offered with additional charges to supporters, providing them with the chance to have their names printed on the back, like players often do. But I quickly want to highlight 2 examples of this, where it's been taken a little bit further. Now, at Margate FC, we issued a third kit in collaboration with our sponsors, the Libertines. To help boost sales, around about this time last year, when obviously the cash flow was at its lowest point of the year, we offered the chance for consumers to have their names printed on the kit. So anyone who purchased the kit within a pre-sale time frame would have their name embossed on each and every design. So it's a very, very unique opportunity, which drove an absolutely incredible number of sales. It generated an unprecedented amount of income for the football club. And it was all by offering a creative opportunity and something a little bit different to the football community as well. And clearly inspired by this, I recently saw that Woking Football Club used this challenging lockdown period to launch #GetBehindTheShirt, a campaign in a similar style to the product that we devised at Margate. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about that campaign later on in the presentation, as it links in with a wider point around using marketing to innovate to generate income. Moving on to the next slide. Websites. I've spoken about this in the past, but your website truly is the shop window of your football organisation. It's often the first place someone will go to learn more about you and to find out how professional you are. So it's a powerful platform to monetize, and we can do it in a number of ways. Firstly, we can offer brands the chance to advertise on our websites by providing spaces in lucrative positions for them to place their adverts. It's quite simple practice, and I imagine most of you probably employ it already. But to refine this in your strategy, I always recommend offering your partners the chance to change their artwork throughout the season, giving them the opportunity to change their messaging to reflect their business goals seasonally. By doing this, it shows that you're in tune with their commercial requirements, and your friendly flexibility will add value. I'm not suggesting that they change their adverts every week, and I'm not sure that's something they'd want to do anyway, but keeping a dialogue open improves your partnership, and when is due for renewal or renegotiation, it puts you in a stronger position to sustain or increase their financial support. Adding a direct to your website is another efficient way of commercialising your site. Implementing a page on your homepage means you have yet another string to your bow, another advertising platform to appeal to brands to entice them to hand over some cash. Directories are good for two main reasons. Number one, they give you the chance to administer something relatively quick and easily whilst generating income. It doesn't require tons of work or labour. You simply ask for the copy from your partner, their logo, and the link they want to promote. Because of this, you can position a relatively fair price point, which enables you to appeal to smaller businesses who want to help you but don't have buckets of cash. And I feel like this is a point that's really relevant to clubs and leagues, because often our network of parents are so vital, and they might run small kind of independent businesses that can't write checks for thousands and thousands of pounds. If you lower the price point and multiply the amount of people involved, you can still reach some really nice little targets there. And every penny helps. So this offers a way to welcome those businesses to your football family. And who knows, as they grow, maybe they'll increase their involvement with you. Secondly, it's a great added benefit that you can offer those larger sponsors when you're looking to find something to seal the signature on a more lucrative scale deal. Using your website as a sales platform is something you also must consider. The FA is doing tons of work to move administration of the game online. A digital ecosystem is building, and you don't want your website to fall behind. If it's relevant to the scale of your club or your league, I would advise looking at adding a ticket sales service to your website. We did this at Margate, and I know that Jeff from National League outfit Bromley FC spoke about its benefits on our very first webinar. If you offer an exclusive rate or price online, it will help your website contribute a steady stream of income. For those of you who are part of an FA Charter Standard club or league who have member clubs, there are websites out there that enable you to vastly improve cash flow with easy-to-use direct debit payment systems. This will assist your organisation with the collection of payments for memberships, affiliations, events, kits and equipment. Anything you can think of, really. These can be implemented for single or recurring payments and help you from an administrative side, because you'll be able to organise and see instantly who has and hasn't paid you. There are some really great services out there that also save your volunteers a massive amount of time. So if we move on to the next slide, an opportunity for those of you from leagues tuned in this evening is naming rights. A headline sponsor whose brand name comes before yours. I know this isn't for everyone, but if you find a potential partner who is the right fit, who shares the same values and can write a cheque that will substantially help your league to run, it is something really worth considering. And I just put this slide together just to highlight to you there at the Kent Youth League how hard we've worked on our brand, so that it looks really unified and really attractive to all of our sponsors. And then if I move on slightly to your Matchday magazine, now switching back to those of you who are tuned into clubs, tuned in from clubs, one asset you have more regularly at your disposal, as opposed to leagues, who again can utilise this, but probably less often around cup final competitions, etc., is your Matchday magazine. These publications are good opportunities to generate income, whether as one-offs or regular contributors, or again as extras as part of larger sponsorship deals. As I've spoken about in previous webinars, traditional marketing still has value and can generate income for you too. I'd suggest the digital equivalent of this is advertising via e-communications. If you run a regular email service to keep your stakeholders and supporters up to date, your carefully constructed database is of value to external partners. Being able to tastefully offer the opportunity to brands to publish offers, exclusive coupons, creative content to your database is a worthy asset within your marketing arsenal. And then I move on. Don't forget your own marketing channels, because they're perfectly positioned to generate you some income. Those of you who tuned in last week would have seen this slide already full of examples from Faversham Strikeforce, who are a FA Charter Standard club, and they really highlight some best practice via their social media channels. Our social media webinars spell out the benefits that it has to offer all of our football organisations, and it touched on its value to attract and satisfy sponsors. Capitalising upon the digital following you have and the reach you offer to others, you'll have worked hard at building your club and league, its reputation and its offer. I'm sure there are many of you tuned in this evening from fantastic organisations with platforms already primed to be collaborated with, and I'd encourage you to explore these opportunities. For those of you with successful YouTube channels, these too offer income generation opportunities. For example, if your league films its cup finals, you can offer the chance to a business to sponsor these finals and include in the package their logo featured at the start and throughout your YouTube content. You'll be able to prove the value via the number of views you get, again presenting a unique branding opportunity. And if your YouTube channel has over 1,000 subscribers or more and 4,000 views in the past 12 months, you can join the YouTube Partner Programme. This enables you to add monetization features from advert revenue, YouTube Premium revenue, channel memberships, which are all things to aspire to. With a clear understanding of what our marketing assets are, let me move us on to how to make them appealing to others so they want to invest their money within your grassroots setup, generating much needed and much wanted income. We are fully aware and equipped with the marketing assets, so now it's all about advertising them to the wider community. If we don't ask, we don't get. And as I mentioned earlier, websites are the shop window of your organisations. It's important that they sell or at least showcase everything your club is about. With a good website, you're drawing back the curtain on how amazing and commercially attractive your outfit is. With every inch you draw back, there's potentially an alluring offer to a sponsor. In the first instance, we need to make sure our website, our ultimate marketing tool, advertises commercial opportunities. We can't expect to generate income if we don't promote it. I advise making sure your homepage has a clear section devoted to commercial activity, a page with copy outlining and promoting various commercial opportunities. It doesn't stop there. To encourage inquiries, as well as satisfy the current partners you've got, make sure your website displays the logos of your sponsors on its homepage. This demonstrates your appeal to others, because if you think about it from a competitive point of view, if businesses, your club or league has a broad range of partners already, it subtly plants the seed of thought that they're missing out on something and trigger them to want to get involved. So when it comes to attracting commercial partners, these advertising principles also apply to social media. Social media is another marketing tool at your disposal, and as you can see on the slides here, It's a very highly visible part of your brand. Using social media to follow and connect with partners is key. That connectivity will help you drive income. Companies and businesses are involved with you because they see value, they see a link into the community. When you work hard to use social media to tell people about opportunities, don't forget you can also use platforms like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn and others to build relationships with posts and content that signpost your followers to your sponsors. All of this amplifies how switched on you are, and it will attract others to come and join you too. A final point on the topic of advertising: when promoting opportunities to aid income generation, use marketing to highlight why partners should invest in your football club. If I could have the next slide, please, Danielle. Businesses have lots of options out there. So what's special about your league, your football club, or your setup? Shout about your unique selling points. Don't be afraid to be boastful about what you're great at. It's a point I've repeated lots through this series, but photo and video content is really persuasive and is known to boost engagement. Utilise it so prospects can visualise the impact of their investment and their involvement. If I move on to the next slide, with a clear understanding of the commercial offerings your organisation has, combined with thorough and consistent advertising of these offerings, you'll find your income streams begin to flourish. However, to generate substantial income through marketing, it can't stop there. Marketing channels, deployed properly, can persistently chase and generate leads to support income generation. And there are a few things we can do to assist with this. I've spoken about websites and social media being key. And combined with this, I would advise having some sort of inquiry or sign-up form alongside everything you put out. With a compelling copy to create lead generations, make sure you have a clear call to action to inquire for more information. This then puts the power in your hands and gives you the opportunity to follow up and begin to cultivate a positive relationship. I promise you these basics are really good value to follow. And don't forget also lessons from previous webinars around utilising your local media, your county FAs and others to promote messaging. If I move on to the next slide, I quickly want to tell you about a really creative way of generating income through lead generation, which was done at Ashton United Football Club. Ashton United took a truly innovative approach to create some leads as they were in desperate need of generating some income. They'd recently been promoted and were finding that their finances were really at a stretch to try and compete in the league they were in. So the club followed a Dragon's Den style approach to find some individuals who put themselves forwards as they looked for one or two or a consortium of dragons with business acumen, contacts and resources to support the club strategically. The club wrote a really persuasive website article outlining their strengths and values as an organisation, backing it up with social media communications, which made the most of the iconic Dragon's chair image you see on the screen now. It was a risk, but it was one that paid off. The Robins subsequently welcomed 2 new directors to their board, a father and son duo who actually applied separately, but were really passionate about the club as a member of their family previously played for them. I would say it's a fabulous example of thinking outside the box, but actually I also like to see it more as thinking about what's inside your box as a club, as a league, as an organisation, and unleashing it to the outside world to find out who wants to visit you, learn more and get involved. Moving on to the next slide, thinking outside the box is of course important. Innovation is integral for success. It's hard to write out methods to teach the principle of being innovative for obvious reasons, as innovation is not something that can be reduced or simplistically described. If we move on to the next slide, you may remember I mentioned Woking FC earlier, and now I'll tell you a bit more about their Get Behind the Shirt campaign. This was an income generation campaign involving supporters with the kit for the upcoming season, whenever that may be. The club cleverly formed a marketing plan to generate cash flow at a time when they can't be sure when they receive money from the turnstiles next. The club designed and heavily promoted a number of packages to appeal to a mass market. With the price point ranging from £25 to £1,000, supporters were able to get their name included on the print of every shirt alongside other benefits. An innovative idea backed with consistent communications and promotion on social media. I'd also advise you check out Woking's website, as they're a club with lots of good ideas and infrastructure to diversify their revenue streams. And campaigns like this are brilliant, and they come around once every so often. One simple tip that can be applied anytime, but one I don't see too many football organisations doing, is working with sponsors and partners to offer exclusive benefits to stakeholders. Your football organisations are in a position to distribute posts to audiences across many different platforms. This can be planned alongside sponsors with agreed copy, offering those who follow you, those who play for you, and so on, a specific discount code or incentive exclusively available to your audiences and your platforms. I think Leeds especially are in a really good position to try out ideas like this, where you can actively reward and benefit those members affiliated to you. The Norfolk Combined Youth League did this well when they partnered with their local Specsavers to allow league registered players to receive 60% off sport glasses, with the league contributing up to £25 per player upon proof of receipt. Another example of good partnership works comes from the Cheltenham Youth League, who devised a scheme with their local club Cheltenham Town, offering reduced season tickets for players and parents in the league. There are multiple benefits to this type of marketing activity. It rewards internal stakeholders, it attracts them to you as an organisation, it boosts your sponsors or your partner's profile, and whilst this could form part of an ongoing agreement with a sponsor, I'd advise all of you to consider negotiating so you get a financial kickback based on the amount of business your posts generate. Once your football organisation devises and implements offers like this with partners, you can monitor and analyse their reach and their conversion figures, which in turn helps you put together persuasive arguments to entice more sponsors further down the line. And if I can have the next slide, please, Danielle. One final note about innovating in this space is to really focus upon what can deliver the difference. What can make your organisation stand out to persuade a business to dip into their pocket and hand over some money? Sometimes the ideas are right under your nose. When the Kent Youth League secured Stagecoach as a headline sponsor, we could have headed to the marketing checklist that I've so heavily promoted over the past few weeks, written a press release, taken some good photos, sent them out to the local media and shared across social media. And whilst we did all of those things, importantly, on top of this, we innovated and put together a launch event utilising the most unique part of the partnership, our sponsor's business of driving double-decker buses. As you can see from the photos on this slide, we coordinated a photo shoot with 2 teams in our league. We invited the managing director of Stagecoach and his colleagues down to be part of it all and used the sponsorship money to gift all of our teams free night footballs on this, which was the first day of the season. This ramped up the amount of PR we were able to achieve and made our sponsors really happy. So much so, they followed it up with a really kind invitation to allow one of our cup finalists an open bus tour. It was absolutely phenomenal. And this season, all our cup finalist winners were due to be rewarded with an open bus tour. So you can just imagine how this would have expanded Stagecoach's reach and brand awareness across the county, which is one of the reasons they signed the sponsorship deal with us in the first place. So if I move on, finally, to fundraising, which is one of the key ways to generate income and can be executed in a number of ways. Firstly, and onto the next slide, with events. Events are a big marketing tool, and all the images you see there are of different initiatives that I ran on match days at Margate Football Club. When you design and market an event, you can create revenue. Things like matches, finals and so on can be described as events, of course, and they're part of your operations organically. Don't overlook the value in adding to your calendar, attaching events to key times of your season. For instance, an opening day of the season party, a Christmas quiz, an end of season celebration. For those of you from sort of, again, clubs higher up in the pyramid potentially, in the bottom right corner is our clubhouse, absolutely packed with supporters who enjoyed a pre-match meal Ahead of the 3 p.m. kickoff, we collaborated with a local business called Margate Supper. They came and delivered all of the food for us, and we managed to put together a really great ticket price of £25 per person, which was really reasonable, and it boosted our income on a match day, because obviously that is normally in normal situations, that's our key kind of opportunity to generate revenue. So by creating fun events, ticketing them, and creating increased footfall, it's a simple but really effective way of keeping the cash flow steadily coming through. And if I move on to easyfundraising.org, easyfundraising.org.uk is a platform that allows you to collect free donations for your organisation every time you and your stakeholders shop online. Easy Fundraising has around 3,000 retailers on board, including John Lewis, M&S, Amazon, eBay and Expedia. So donations can be raised on everything from clothes to holidays, gifts to groceries. Every time a supporter of yours shops online through Easy Fundraising and spends at these retailers, they collect a free donation for the good cause of their choice. And if you're on that platform, that good cause can be yours. It's free to sign up and may be worth checking out. GoFundMe. GoFundMe is another similar fundraising platform. This one is especially effective for campaign fundraising with a specific goal or target in mind. If I could have the next slide, please, Danielle. You create the campaign, you set the fundraising goal and generate income based on your ability to tell your story alongside compelling pictures and video. The success of generating income is then dependent upon your ability to maximise the reach of your network of players, coaches, volunteers and stakeholders. By asking them to champion your cause through email, texts and social media, increases the number of donations and subsequently the income you generate. So, is everyone okay with the sound? I've just seen a few comments come through. Is it all okay, Danielle?
Okay, my end, Charlotte, to be fair.
Unfortunately, maybe that's for someone.
Yeah, just possibly a few. I'm just coming back to those 2 individuals now, so yeah.
Oh, sorry, I just didn't want to think I was rabbiting away and no one could listen.
No, absolutely.
Good stuff. Okay, if I move on to the next slide around grant funding. So if your club needs financial support for those bigger things, such as improvements to facilities, equipment, or develop new programs for those in your local area, then grant funding may be available. There are a number of different national and local funding programs that your club may be able to access. Especially right now, grant funding is essential. So it's really important to be online, to be present, and without sounding like I'm trying to quote the government, to stay alert to the opportunities from bodies including, but not limited to, Sport England, the Football Association, county sport partners and local authorities. And when you apply the innovative thinking to this, it will open your eyes and ears to funding opportunities you've never even thought about before. I always say to my colleagues, as a marketeer, I consider myself to serve as the eyes and ears of the organisation. Therefore, marketing serves a purpose when curating income through grant funding. And I wanted to take this opportunity to tell you about an example at Margate where we applied for some funding from the Collier Ferguson Charitable Trust to run a community engagement scheme. We successfully earned a grant to be able to welcome a local young carer to every home game of the 2019-20 season. And on screen are a few photos from Jude's day out with us. We treated the young carer, like I say, like a VIP. They took part in our youth club's Saturday soccer club before meeting and greeting the first team. They also enjoyed a hot meal and watched the team in action from our boardroom. We used part of the funding to coordinate a gift bag, which included a signed programme, water bottle, branded hat, and extra gifts from our partners who were more than happy to support the programme. Going through the grant application process enabled us to build relationships with local hands-on organisations. We had excellent content to deliver across our communication channels, which helped us generate a future generation of fans because many of them came back throughout the year with their parents and friends. And of course, we generated income itself from the grant. So always subscribe to your local charity ecoms. Try to visit their websites when you can, because you never know what you might find. And if I move on to the next slide, as organisations play within the grassroots game, we know that sponsors are becoming increasingly difficult to find, But one golden nugget we have in our favour is the fact that we are so entrenched within the local community. It's something we can use as part of a marketing strategy to generate income. So don't forget the opportunity local causes present. Now I'm going to start with a traditional one, which I appreciate will feel a very, very long way off from being possible anytime soon. But bag packing, it's one of the things that hopefully when we resume to normal life we can potentially explore. But opportunities, even if it's something like bag packing or a local litter pick or some kind of activity like that, it provides you with a way to involve all of your members by getting down to the local supermarket and putting in some work. It could even be maybe car washing. That seems potentially the most accessible thing right now. But as well as raising funds, all of your members can wear their branded kit. So it raises awareness and maybe incidentally forms a part of networking, because you never know who you could get speaking to. Another thing to consider is, could you rebrand some of the things that we often overlook to generate more income? How about a cuppa campaign? We all tend to sell teas and coffees on match days, training nights and so on. Could you be a bit creative and upsell the experience of buying a coffee or a tea by marketing it as a fundraising initiative? For example, your cuppa campaign could promote the message that every £1 spent by visitors on tea and coffee in the 2020-21 season will be ring-fenced to generate the income to refurbish your clubhouse. If you sold cups of tea at £1 each, just to your you could generate around £30 per week. That's £120 per month, which is just £1,500 per year. If you do that across a number of teams, it can have a really good impact. And like I say, every penny helps. It can be described as a marketing gimmick, but I prefer to think of it as strategic thinking linked with a clear and defined objective. Another old school method is raffles and draws. Lots of clubs come up with internal schemes and membership offers. At Margate, we have the Golden Lottery, which generates some useful income. And I would advise looking into these to engage local members of your community who might not necessarily like football, but they want to get involved with you somehow. One example of a piece of really innovative collaboration comes from the Sheffield and District Junior League. All players in their league paid £1 when they registered, and that went towards a joint sponsorship from the league to their local children's hospital. This has resulted in the league sponsoring a room at the hospital, an absolutely outstanding piece of community work by the league. But in turn, the children's hospital can find sponsors for the league, and they receive 50% as a finder's fee. It's a total win-win situation for all involved, and something for the local community to get behind and get a sense of satisfaction they do have over their cash. The agreement also meant that the league could benefit from the hospital's commercial manager, so they were able to gain access to commercial expertise, which opened lots of doors for them. Finally, I think I mentioned it on previous webinars, but larger supermarkets like Tesco and Waitrose have income generation opportunities as part of their corporate social responsibility. Their community focus, which is great because it obviously really resonates with us as grassroots communities ourselves. We tick a big box. With good marketing, we will have a strong brand, strong values, and strong links to the community. So when we need to rally our stakeholders to vote and participate in the kind of schemes these supermarkets run, they're on standby to be our biggest brand ambassadors. That is just about all from me now, and this is my favourite part where I get to showcase to you some fantastic volunteers and the fantastic work they do. And this evening, Darren Perrin from Melksham Town is going to share with you some fantastic slides to really highlight how good marketing activity can help a football organisation generate income. So Darren, if you are good to go, I will hand over to you.
Thank you, Charlotte. My name is Darren Perrin and I am the chairman of Melksham Town Football Club. We currently play in the Southern League South Step 4. The club was formed in 1876 and is currently 144 years old. Never in its history have we experienced anything quite like this. Next slide, please. The club spent most of its illustrious history at the Conager, where we literally had a small shack of a clubhouse, cramped changing rooms with showers which were sometimes hot, sometimes cold, and sometimes didn't even work. We also had a wooden stand, which obviously wouldn't be acceptable today due to health and safety issues. We were quite fortunate that we were based right in the middle of the town, so we always had great following from the town and surrounding areas. We always had a reserve side and an under-18 side, and that was it. Although in the town there were other local youth football clubs, but they were completely separate from Melksham Town. Next slide, please. I will now go on to a little bit how I became involved in the football club before I go on to what the football club presently has today. My father, Michael Perrin, he's been involved with the football club for over 56 years, ranging from a player, caretaker manager, secretary, chairman, president, and even groundsman. As you can see, I had no choice. I made my debut for Melksham when I was 18 and then went on to manage the club, where we won numerous trophies, ranging from the Western League Championship, Division 1 Championship, 2 Wilts Premier Shields, 2 Wilts Senior Cup finals, and a Les Phillips Cup, all with my own town club. I also had spells as manager of Polton Rovers, Frome Town, Chippenham Town, and I also had 8 great years full-time at Forest Green Rovers as a youth development officer, chief scout, and caretaker manager. Next slide, please, Danielle. I would like to now explain how we moved from our old ground, the Conager, to the fantastic new facility that we currently have at the Infiled Arena at Oakfields. During my time as manager, the previous committee, led by Dave Wiltshire, who was chairman, and very instrumental in the move along with his fellow committee members, Mark Jeffrey, Andy Butcher, Russ Illier, Karen and Ian Forrester, Mike Rudd and Rob Bridges, all worked extremely hard in not only securing the move, but also very importantly, merging all youth football under the banner of Melksham Town Football Club. They adopted the slogan, "One Town, One Club." They were also very instrumental in making sure that little Johnny in the under-6s up to the club captain in the first team all wore the same kit. During the initial development phase, we unfortunately had some major delays due to newts, bats, etc., which culminated in us not obtaining promotion to the Southern League because our old ground at the Conager did not meet the criteria for ground grading. After many meetings, long hours, and a lot of frustration, the old committee and the Wiltshire Council finally got the facility over the line, and what a facility it is. The facility was funded literally by the Wiltshire Council and the Football Foundation, and we are extremely grateful to them and to the old committee and to all the subcontractors who made this possible. Next slide, please, Danielle. At our new facility, we have 14 pitches, where we have 1 main pitch, 1 training pitch, and 12 youth pitches, ranging from 7x7, 9x9, and 11x11. We have 6 dressing rooms. All the floor is underfloor heated. We have a very large patio on the top floor, along with our bar and president's suite and kitchen. Our bar can hold up to 180 people, and our president's suite up to 30 people. We also have 2 offices, of which one is for the administration manager, and my office is general manager stroke chairman. One of the big pluses with our bar is that you can watch the game through the gates, through the glass windows, especially when the weather is poor. We also cater for the elderly and disabled with a lift that takes you from the ground floor to the top floor. Downstairs in the dressing room area, to go with the 6 dressing rooms as mentioned earlier, we have 4 match official dressing rooms, which include a female dressing room, plus our own laundry room, manager's office, cellar and storeroom. We also have photos of all eras ranging from 1876 to the present day displayed in the corridor. Outside, we have bought the gates from the previous grounds to our new facility, as we felt it was part of the club's history, and we felt that this was important to have some memories. We have also got a watering system for our pitch, and in the last 18 months we have had installed a huge electronic scoreboard. 2 years ago, I was asked by the previous chairman would I become the new chairman of Melksham, as he had lost a desire and commitment due to increased business commitments. At the time, it was something that I didn't really want or crave for. as I was still manager and desperate to take the club into the Southern League. The previous chairman was very adamant that he was standing down and he felt that I was the right man to take it on. My assistant manager at the time then became manager. After deciding I would become the new chairman, I quickly formed a new committee, as a few of the old committee also stood down due to various reasons. In our first season, the club, under the new manager, gained promotion to the Southern League by finishing second in the Western League. This in itself was a great achievement, but this also provided more issues financially to compete at a higher level and made our sponsorship and marketing income all the more important. Next slide, please, Danielle. Through the efforts of the previous committee and also the present committee, I am delighted to be able to announce that we now currently run with 3 senior teams on a Saturday, a under-18s team in midweek, a ladies team on a Sunday, and we now have over 42 youth teams in our youth section. We currently have close to 500 playing the game of football from all ages, all abilities and all genders. I'm also delighted that next season, whenever that may be, we will be expanding to a vets team, and we are also setting up an academy team via the Southern League. Plus, we are also fortunate that we have links with Wiltshire College. We now, as a football club, in a very short space of time, have gone from a small old ground at the Conager to this amazing new facility, and it is now not just a football club. It has to be operated as a business, and this in itself has created a lot of work to make the club sustainable, as you can imagine. There are a lot of overhead costs involved. We currently have 3 full-time employees, a steward, a team that operates in the Southern League, so obviously needs a playing budget. All of this doesn't come easy, and it requires a lot of work, not just from the full-time staff, but also from the volunteers, our supporters, and the community and sponsors of the club. You are now going to see a video clip that we produced last season to thank all of our sponsors, as it will give you a good idea of what type of sponsorship packages we offer. Please, can you start the video, Danielle?
Darren will do. Just as a pre-warning, it might lag ever so slightly, so if that does lag for you, please don't put it in the chat. We will send you the link afterwards.
As you can see,
should just be coming on now, Darren. Might just need to give it just a. There we go.
As you can see in the video, we have a large number of sponsors who we rely on very heavily through sponsorship. Next slide, please, Danielle.
Just bear with me, Darren. I just need to make sure I don't restart this video, which is what I've just bear with me, everyone. There we go. Back there for you, Darren.
Thank you. We offer 3 different sponsorship packages for advertising boards, ranging from a 6 foot by 3 foot, a 4 foot by 3 foot, and the shirt sponsorship advertising board. Included in the price, depending on the size of the board, the sponsor receives either 1 or 2 season tickets for their company, and also 10% discount off hiring the club's function rooms, and also 10% off all drinks purchased at the club. Next slide, please. We also offer sponsorship packages on our electronic scoreboard where the logo of the company is shown continuously on a carousel throughout the game, and also before, half-time and full-time in full, which takes up the whole screen. We also do a lot of other packages, ranging from sponsoring the club shirts from the under-6s, as mentioned earlier, all the way up to the first team. The sponsor of these shirts is Wiltshire Tyres, who are Melksham-based, and they sponsored the shirt on a 2-year contract. They also offer our members discount on their services. We have names on shorts, match ball sponsors, and programme sponsors. Next slide, please. We also do a match day hospitality package where a group of 10 people can have a 2-course meal, 3 bottles of wine on their table, 3 programmes each, and to pick the man of the match award at the end of the game. We also do a raffle during the game. To unite our youth section with the senior section, we have a different age group at all our first team home games where they are mascots and walk out with their players. We provide them with food and a small gift whenever possible. We also, as an extra sponsorship package, got a company to sponsor the naming rights of the grounds. We agreed a 3-year contract and we get payment every 3 months to help the cash flow in this 3-year period. Next slide, please. To attract the amount of sponsors that we currently have, we've taken a massive amount of work from the previous committee, the present committee, myself, and many others in getting to where we are today. At the start of each season, normally end of May, early June, we invite all of our sponsors to a special evening where we provide a buffet and drinks as a way of saying thank you and also outlining our visions and aims for the upcoming season. This evening gives us the opportunity of trying and securing their sponsorship at a reduced price for the forthcoming season. It also gives all of our sponsors the opportunity to do some networking with the other companies and individuals on the night. We are fortunate, as you can see in the picture, that Islington Motors supply and sponsor a club van for myself to use, and as part of their other numerous deals, they park a car up at the grounds at the majority of our own games, detailing their latest offers. We are also very fortunate that Nor Brems sponsor the dugouts as well as many other things, and we are extremely grateful to them, and indeed all of our sponsors, as without them, we certainly could not operate and sustain the level of football that we are currently playing at. Next slide, please, Danielle. I can also assure you that we live within our means, and we certainly do not have a large playing budget, especially compared to other teams either in our division or lower. We also try to generate a lot of extra income by hosting sportsmen's evenings in our main function room, where in the past we have hosted stars from Paul Merson, Lee Sharp, Matt Letizia, Ray Parlett, just to name a few. We also annually host our Melksham Town Golf Day, which usually attracts anything between 22 to 30 teams. We also host a 10K run when we normally get around 400 to 500 runners with one of our main sponsors, DB Max. And going forward, we will be looking to organise car boot sales. Twice in the last 4 years, we have hosted the Manchester United Legends, which turned out to be a massive success, of which we also supported the Teenage Cancer Trust, Dorothy House, and Wiltshire Air Ambulance. As a chartered standard and community football club, we support these charities as much as we possibly can, and we get great satisfaction in doing so. With such a big building during the day, the club is used for business meetings, weddings, wakes, christenings, etc. We can cater for all of the above, and in the last year or so, our bookings have gone up massively, and we are starting to fulfil the club's true potential, even though there is still a lot of work to be done. We have also agreed to help the community and the elderly to short mat bowls being played in the function room, as the sporting hall in the town has been demolished. This is another example of the way the club tries to support the local community whenever possible. Next slide, please. The Regarding marketing of the club, we felt that our social media and club website was not projecting enough about the resources and facilities we have to offer at our club. We therefore have launched a brand new website, and the feedback from this has been tremendous, with over 800 people on average viewing a single news article which has been posted. We wanted to develop opportunities on our website to promote the sponsors. We have a sponsors directory with all of the sponsors' details listed, and the main sponsors have prominent advertising spots on our main page. On our new website, we have an online shop where supporters can purchase merchandise ranging from a team shirt, kit bag, mug, and scarves, etc. We also try to encourage our supporters to engage with the online shop, and this season we even allowed them to have a vote and choose the new design for the club's bobble hats. Our social media a couple of years ago was a complete shambles, and it has been improved greatly due to a lot more content, having a club photographer and also a club statistician. During the course of the season, we will do regular spotlights on social media of our sponsors to highlight their businesses and thank them for their support of the football club. I am also pleased to announce that we have just appointed a new member to the social media team who will start interviewing players, committee, sponsors, supporters, and also showing extended highlights of all of our games home and away. Again, we feel that this raises the profile of our football club. We try to use the same hashtag throughout all of our posts, which is hashtag Black and Yellow Family, as we try to promote how close and united we are as a club. Since the coronavirus has started, we as a football club have faced many problems and difficult times. The 3 full-time staff have been furloughed, and we are still currently furloughed. All income into the club has come to a standstill, with no sign yet of when we will be able to reopen the premises or if the football season will start on time. With the current situation, we don't know how this will impact on us with our fantastic group of sponsors. We are hopeful from the phone calls that we have received from the majority of bookings and parties that have been cancelled will still take place when we can obviously reopen. Because of the virus, we have found that it is difficult or nigh on impossible to let the football manager know 100% what his playing budget will be for this coming season. This causes a few problems in itself, as other clubs, and I don't know how they do it, are offering terms, etc. already. Next slide, please, Danielle. We have a volunteer at the football club who is a chartered accountant and who has looked after the relevant grants that we were entitled to apply for. We have received business grants from the government. We have also received the Sports England grant, and we are also waiting to find out if we have been successful with a pitch maintenance grants. These grants have been very welcoming and short term will certainly help the club. We also decided to do a Just Giving page, asking our supporters whether they could help the club in these very difficult times. I can assure you all now 100% that none of the money that the supporters have currently raised will be going towards the playing budget at the football club. We have been left flabbergasted and shell-shocked by the tremendous support that we have received from the old to the young, ex-players, current players, ex-managers, current manager, old committee, present committee, and from the community of Melksham in general. We have currently raised £10,000, which will be used wisely, and we will show the people who donated how the money has been spent. Next slide, please, Danielle. What has gone well? Well, the support that we receive at the football club has doubled and almost trebled from when we played at the Conager. By gaining promotion, we are playing at the highest standard of football in the club's history. We currently have more sponsors than we have ever had in the club's history. The rapport between sponsors, club and supporters has never ever been closer, and the club has a close-knit, united family feel. And we hope obviously the sponsorship continues to improve. Next slide, please, Danielle. What has not gone so well? It was certainly a shock going from the old ground to the new grounds. We moved at the wrong time. We actually moved halfway through a season, and regarding our sponsorship, we had to give companies 18-month deals instead of obviously 12-month deals. This obviously generated a cash flow problem at the time. We acted a little bit like Manchester United and not Melksham Town in purchasing stuff. Because of the new facility, we went way OTT on purchasing furniture, etc., and certainly not living within our means at the time. We didn't understand the utilities cost of the building, although I'm pleased to say now we've certainly got on top of that. A year or so ago, our manager resigned. This caused obviously a lot of upheaval at the club, and we did lose a few sponsors to leave at the time. I'd finally like to say thank you very much for listening, and I hope this presentation has given you a few ideas and opportunities that could help help your football club going forward succeed, and I hope you all stay safe and well in these difficult times. Thank you.
Oh, Darren, thank you so much for that. That was absolutely outstanding. And especially given all the content that's been put together over the past 4 weeks, I feel like your slides have really kind of highlighted everything that's good about marketing. And you were recommended to me by one of the FA Cup consultants, Simon Wood, and he spoke so highly of you and the club and the work you're doing. And it was very inspiring for me to listen to that. And I'm sure everyone tuned in as well. So there you have it. Our final marketing webinar is practically done and dusted. On screen now are some practical tips for how to use marketing to generate income. I hope these tips, combined with the content of the past 90 minutes, give you some ideas and some inspiration to take forward. One thing I've stressed each week is that there are going to be some really challenging times for our games. There are going to be some hurdles and in certain respects more difficulties when trying to generate income. However, there is bountiful opportunity too. And this time, until we're back into a more normal routine of things, will hopefully prove useful in putting some ideas together, creating a plan and moving forward with your stakeholders as a team, exactly in the way that Darren described as well. That sense of teamwork is ingrained in the football family, and it's a trait I think will prove our greatest and most valuable asset moving forwards. I want to thank Darren again for so passionately and honestly outlining some of the best practices for us to all take away. Darren has identified and reiterated how marketing benefits grassroots organisations to generate income. It's still one of our hardest tasks, but it's one of the most rewarding too. So be creative, be consistent, and good luck with it all. And I know Danielle's going to take us through some questions, but Danielle, one thing's just sprung into mind. I was talking about different systems and different products and the work the FA is doing on its digital ecosystem. I know they've actually got a partnership with PayPal, but you are probably better equipped than I am to explain how that works.
Yeah, sure. No, that's absolutely fine. And again, just before going on to that, Darren, Charlotte, thank you very much. And I know we'll do an official thanks at the end, but some really good comments coming in already. But Charlotte, just to hit back on your point, yes, the FA has got a partnership with PayPal through the Matchday app. Now, I can be very open and honest here on this system and say that there has been some teething problems, which I am sure many of you have experienced, so we can only apologise for that. But there is a system in place that will look at some of the financial software kind of elements that other software packages do offer, but it is out there as a free service through the use of the Matchday app. So if you haven't heard of it or would like to find out more information, please visit thefa.com/matchday and you'll be able to find all the information on there. Your county FAs will also be able to just share that knowledge with you on the platform and the app if you haven't heard of it already, which, like I say, I'm sure you have, but it is just another one out there, which is obviously our own, which obviously we'd love you all to be a part of, and it's out there to explore most definitely. So thank you for that, Charlotte. I think really good opportunity now to just answer a few questions. So the chat's been really live this evening, so again, thank you very much for everyone on the call that has been interacting through the chat. It's really good to see. I've captured a couple of questions, and if you've got any more questions, please do pop them in the chat so I can relay them over to Charlotte and Darren. So the first one, really good one from Rob Kelly, who asked, how do clubs quantify what they have to offer a sponsor and value that you get for it? Is it kind of a tiered approach? So Charlotte, just to kind of reconfirm that question from Rob, really, it's how do clubs quantify what they have to offer, and is there some type of tiered approach that might be useful for clubs to use when going out to different sponsors?
Yeah, that's an absolutely fantastic question, and I think from my own experience, a tiered approach is a really successful one, no matter kind of what sort of football organisation you are, because the point I was trying to get across in the webinar is that you will have organisations of different sizes. Some of them will be able to write you cheques of thousands of pounds, some of them will be able to write you cheques of £100, but you know, every single penny helps. And actually some of the smaller scale sponsorship things that I've put together in the past have been the most successful. So at Margate, we put a sponsor package together at a sort of much more digestible price point. But obviously we were able to expand that over a squad of 20 players. So it actually generated us around £6,000 of income. So I think a tiered approach is really successful. And then when it comes to qualifying the value, of course, that's a very bespoke and individual team. I think it's a combination of two things that you have to consider. It's your kind of physical brand awareness, i.e. if a partner is going to put an advertising board up or some kit sponsorship, but also, like I explained in the webinar, not forgetting your digital reach. And a way of helping you get a picture of that is by looking at your analytics. And it's something I know when I joined the Kent Youth League that they weren't particularly aware of. It was only when I logged onto their website and I logged onto the social media and I said to the CEO, I was like, do you realise that you get like nearly 1 million impressions a month? Did you realise your website gets around 6,000 individuals per month? So when we had that information at our disposal, we were then able to appeal to sort of the bigger sponsors and attract them. And one point as well that I think, again, has worked for me over the years is we all want to get those kind of big ones, so to speak, ticked off, like a shirt sponsor and so on, and everyone wants bang for their buck. So if you're going to get a headline shirt sponsor or a headline league sponsor and stuff, and you have a value for that, keep that value in your mind and be firm for it. But when it comes to getting them over the line to sign that deal, think of the added benefits you can give them. So for example, if you do have a headline shirt sponsor and they have a Twitter account, you can say to them, oh, okay, well, look, we'll tag you in X amount of posts per month. We will retweet your message X amount of times per month. Those added benefits don't cost you anything, but they can help you get those kind of bigger deals along the line. So go out there with a vision of your value and stick to it. But if you feel like you're struggling a little bit, or the business that you're kind of negotiating with need a few sort of extra additions to get them over the line, do that. The amount of times I've kind of chucked in a couple of tickets, or I've said I'll go on, I'll give you a half-page advert, or you know, I'll do an interview with the owner and put it on the website, because everyone loves that kind of feel-good factor, and that's helped secure a partnership. So I hope that helps you.
No, that's really good, Charlotte, really good. And I guess just to reiterate your point there around your values and your vision for anyone that joined us on our Defining Success webinar with Wayne from Hyde Dibden. He very much speaks around one of the areas of his success is actually securing a whole club sponsor. So they're a club in Hampshire, a charter standard development club, a good number of teams. I can't remember quite rightly off the top of my head, but not a super big club, but definitely have got aspirations to do so. But one of their successes as a club is having a whole club sponsor, and that came around through the selling of their values and vision as a club, and that's what caught the sponsors' eye. And then I guess just to throw a massive kind of curveball in there, and like Charlotte's mentioned, the the diversification of different sponsors helps with that longevity as well. So as much as having a collective sponsor is great, also diversifying those different sponsors is just as beneficial. So obviously bring in lots of different avenues, and hopefully extend your reach to a much wider audience. So really good response, Charlotte. We've got another one from Matt, from Torquay United Women, who's asked, what's the best way to contact a commercial partner? Is it email? Is it the traditional pick up the phone? Is it even more traditional, drop in a letter? What do you think the best way to contact a potential partner is, Charlotte?
Yeah, again, that's a really good question. And I'm not sure that there's a best way, but there are certainly multiple ways. Firstly, if you're looking at it from the point of view of you want to reach people, you want to kind of cast that invitation to get involved with the football club far and wide, then social media is your best bet. We all saw the fantastic video that Darren had put together. I mean, that's the whole point around video and imagery content. It can be so effective and persuasive. So using social media, some really engaging copy, come and get involved, support your local clubs, you know, an exciting sell with a link to your website where someone can download a commercial brochure or find out some more information. It's really, really good. You can encourage your players, you can encourage your coaches, your committee to retweet. So again, you're building that reach, and you never know who could get in contact. Personalisation is really, really key. So if you're going to go down the sort of personal route, I think letters are really, really nice. Do your research, do your homework, find out who the owner is. Make sure that like I say, you've done your homework, and you feel like that brand or that company is going to be a fantastic match. When it comes to mass marketing, again, you've got the digital version via social media, but flyers and brochures, yes, there can be an upfront cost, but they can also be offering a really good return of investment. You can do flyer drops, you can upload your brochure to your website, but not only that, you can leave them around the clubhouse. So for those of you like Darren, who has a clubhouse offers revenue, you're sometimes not always going to have a football audience. You might actually do business networking events. You might host weddings and receptions and different events like that. So people can go away and take something and have a read. Again, you never know whose hands they will fall into. And on that note, face-to-face is, of course, probably the most powerful way. And so if you do have any time, or people in your committee do have any time, lots of business networking events take place across the country. They can often be initially free to attend, so you can maybe go down representing the club, or if you're there in a personal capacity, they can be really, really good at building connections and generating income as well. And if you are a football club that has your own clubhouse and facility to hire out, I would really look at hosting them at your venue. Even if you don't charge a room hire fee, you'll be having all of those business owners come into your venue. And I think that's a really good way, and that's worked quite successfully for me in the past at different sport outlets that I've worked for. So there's multiple ways, not a best way, but hopefully those will give you guys some tips.
Really good point there, Charlotte, around that connection, and it's something that kind of we're really steering at the FA now is clubs kind of connecting better with clubs, but more broadly connecting wider with their local community. And just on Charlotte's point around those business kind of connections, your active partners that are aligned to Sport England will host these as well, more from a sport specific perspective. So you've got the business element that Charlotte spoke about, and then you've got the business sports spin on it that some of your active partnerships will do. So please do look at what your local active partnership can do for you, and maybe what opportunities there are to get involved. I think Simon's added probably a good point, just following on from that question that Matt raised around kind of the best approach. Simon mentioned around the best ways to think how you'd like to be approached. So what ways would you like to pick up some type of information? And that might be the start of your journey, Matt, in terms of contacting different commercial partners. We've had another good question. I think it was from Dahal, if I'm the chat's gone crazy. Dahad, sorry, all around business structures. So obviously, when we're talking around any commercial partners, opportunities, many of them will come alongside some type of contract. So just be conscious, depending on what type of legal structure you are operating as. If you're an unincorporated association, that is predominantly many of you on the call this evening, members association, you will have the liability on yourselves and not necessarily within a legal structure. So definitely explore looking at your current legal structure to make sure you are incorporated in some way, shape or form before looking to get into any contractual agreements. Like I say, if you are an unincorporated association, then the liability does sit with committee members if you are obviously getting into some type of contract. So if you are unsure or you'd like to find out more information, I completely understand this is a slightly different spin on marketing and communication, but it's obviously just as important to understand where you sit. Please do check out our legal partner, which is Muckle LLP. If you go to the section at the top, which states what do we do, and check out the Football Association, you will see lots of support, content, resources around the different legal structures that are out there. If you are joined us this evening from a Charter Standard Club, you do get 3 30-minute phone call with the legal helpline to just discuss maybe what your legal structure is and maybe what legal structures you may want to explore. So apologies that went slightly off tangent, but it is a very good question, and it's very important just to make sure that however you are structured, you're obviously protecting yourself as volunteers and looking at maybe a better structure to help take some of these top tips forward. Darren, one from me, if you don't mind. I mean, you've obviously got a large number of sponsors around the grounds, on your clubhouse. Was it a case of looking and going out and finding them sponsors, or was it a case that once you got a few on board, the word spread in a positive vibe and it was that snowball effect? Because obviously you've done some fantastic work there and a whole host of sponsors. I guess people on the call might be wondering, blimey, Darren has done a great bit of work there, which I can only imagine you did. Or was it a case of the word of mouth got out and that positive vibe was part of the reason that you managed to get so many sponsors?
Well, first and foremost, it certainly wasn't just down to me. It was certainly a team effort. Although I'm a full-time employee at the football club, that was part of my remit to go out to the sponsors. It helped with the facility that we had, that 90 to 95% of those sponsors are from Melksham and surrounding areas. So it obviously helped that we could take those to go and see the facility that we were going to from the old grounds. Certainly word of mouth, as Charlotte mentioned earlier, it certainly helped too from having functions at the club that people that were using it could see the advertising boards, could see the sponsorship that we had around the ground. And I would as a guess say we probably picked up 10% extra from people who didn't even come to football, who came and used our facilities and our function room for wakes, weddings, business, etc., parties, saw what we had to offer and liked what they saw, and a few of them actually came to us and asked about the sponsorship. So there has been a lot of work by a lot of people, certainly not just me, but we are very fortunate that we are a football town, and I think that is quite important. We've got the rugby club, which is right next door to us, and they're doing it just as well, but we have got a very close community, and I think that helps as well, massively.
No, I think that's really good, and it's really interesting, I think, for people on the call to recognise that it is collective hard work, but actually once you begin to put that hard work in, like you said, Darren, the additional maybe unknowns start to come in, which is obviously a nice reward for all the hard work you've done. Matt's got a question for you, Darren, if you don't mind. Has there been any kind of issues associated with the sponsors is potentially thinking around the loss in club autonomy as a result of sponsors thinking they've got power over the club as they are investing in them. Because obviously you've got quite a few sponsors. Have you kind of experienced any issues, or have you managed to kind of keep everyone happy and make sure that you, as your club and your committee, are still driving the club in the direction that you want to go in?
No, the majority we've kept happy, and the majority of the sponsors are supporters of the football club as well, which helps. But we have had one or two issues. They feel that being a sponsor of the club, it gives them to use the pitch, for example, or can they have extra season tickets because they want to bring family and friends, etc., to the game. And so we have experienced one or two difficulties. But again, I feel it's very much important how you manage it. And as a committee, we've got all different types of characters within the committee, and we tend to try to manage the situation the best we can. But having so many sponsors, as Matt said, does cause one or two problems along the way, especially if they want it in certain places, their boards in certain positions, because obviously the more the people that pay, they tend to get obviously the first usage of it.
Danielle, just to build on that slightly, I think Darren's responded really, really well. One tip I would give, particularly with the largest, well, with all of the sponsorship deals and all of the partnership deals, clarity around exactly what you're getting and exactly what you're providing is really important. But certainly for those kind of bigger sponsorship deals, what I've found really, really helpful is to have like service level agreements in place where you literally bullet point what you're going to deliver for that money and what in turn you need from the company, because it gives you a sort of map and an idea then, and you can refer back to it. And like Darren was kind of alluding to there, that man to man, that kind of thing is what we call account management, and that is really important. So I would definitely advise, especially when it's large sums of money, service level agreements written on a bit of paper. They don't have to be super heavy and dense, but just with simple bullet points outlining what both parties are going to give and what they're going to get. That's really helped me in the past, particularly again when we're in the full swing of the season and it can be quite easy to be bogged down with other things. They prove really, really helpful. And once you've done one, they're pretty good to copy and paste and amend and tailor as well.
No, brilliant, great follow-up, Charlotte. Matt, hopefully that answers your question. Really open and honest answer from Darren there, and I think a great solution from Charlotte, which is fantastic. And we've got another question in, Charlotte. I think it's possibly just a small recap from last week's session. It's from Hannah, around looking to advertise, the top tips for advertising, kind of those from a minority background or minority sport, so potentially women's football, maybe those players with a disability or those in a minority group. What's kind of some of the best ways to advertise and attract sponsors to the different audiences that a club might be supporting?
Again, another really good question, and something I'm very passionate about. I've worked for women in sport for a number of years, so know particularly of the challenges around commercial income for women's sport, but not obviously only women, as you explained there, minority sports. I think it's, again, taking you back to that unique selling point. It is something that's slightly unique. It is something that's slightly different. And I would just hone in on that and make that a really core part of your marketing strategy. Identifying what it is that works really, really well for your outlet, whether it is the fact that you provide football for those with a disability, whether it's the fact that you run a team for veterans women's players. I think really understanding your unique selling point, and a point we made in last week's webinar is about communicating values and knowing, as someone that's looking to advertise and recruit sponsors, what are your 3 values that you want to stand up for as a football organisation. Using social media to really communicate that, using your website to communicate that, and if it's possible, trying to get some good imagery, which I know is a massive challenge. a challenge for minorities, because again, it was something that we came across in women in sport. There was just no imagery of women playing sport. Like, simply, you know, it's these kind of ripped women advertising gyms, and there wasn't that kind of authentic grassroots imagery. So if you're able to get a volunteer to get some photos of your club, they're having fun, enjoying themselves, that will give you some great marketing collateral there. And as soon as you then I think, you know, begin to nurture and build a bit of a community online. And then when you make those calls of action, when you try and put those messages out to generate interest, it's then you get that kind of face-to-face time or that phone call conversation to get them involved more personally. And I do know from firsthand, because one of my my first volunteering role within football was at Gillingham Ladies Football Club, and that was one of my first tasks, is how are we going to get money into this team so that we can operate from week to week. And I started with the basics, what makes us special, and it was the fact it was a women's team. So we really played that, and we involved the grassroots, and it all went on from there. Danielle, do you have the slide with my email address on it at all?
Can I be honest?
No, it's not there. All right, I'll put it on the group. Because I've been getting quite a lot of messages, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to answer them all. So if anyone wants to follow up, I'm going to put that and my LinkedIn and stuff like that on the chat.
Absolute start. I will add it to the PowerPoint presentation.
No worries. I always
come in. I was like, oh no, what Wally, I've forgotten it. But if you're happy to do so, I'll also include an email body that these guys will receive before the weekend as well, just so we cover it that end. If you're happy with that.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine with me. I'm just conscious that I've had a few people private message, and I'm not sure if I'm going to get through them all.
Thank you, though, and apologies, that is completely my fault. One last question here from Simon, and I can certainly pick that up. Simon's just asked around, how do you get more people involved in the club? So I mean, that's a huge topic that I'm sure all 200 and something people on the call this evening probably want to know that kind of golden answer to. And we're certainly looking at webinars that are going to look at volunteering. I think a few top tips to take away is we had Faversham Strike Force on the call last week. Now, Lee has done a great piece around the way in which he attracts volunteers. He pulled up 3 slides, so I definitely recommend that if you weren't on the call last week, I can send you over the link with the details on that Lee explained, which is all about just that excitable advertisement. So he uses really cool images that actually sell kind of happiness and enjoyment. Looks at different areas. So if they're looking for referees, they'll talk about the skill sets they gain and what hours they may be being asked to support with the club. So that's kind of a live example from Faversham Strike Force that we had last week. There is a section on the Club Matters website, so if you haven't heard of it, it's a platform through Sport England called Club Matters, and they've got a section all on there around volunteers. Like I said, volunteers is definitely a subject that we are going to address in future webinars. Just going back to the Club Matters resources, they've got ways in which that you can understand who you've currently got at your club, ways of capturing different individual skill sets, i.e. through parents. So have you got a parent that's an account manager? Have you got a parent that is maybe a handyman or a handy woman that you might be able to just have that in the back of your mind if you need a few kind of repairs done at the club or the ground or whatever it may be. So there are definitely ways in which things can be done immediately before the webinar that we produce comes into play. And there's obviously lots of hot topics around at the moment around volunteering, especially where we've seen a massive increase in the current climate. So it's how do we transfer some of those that have expressed an interest in volunteering into the sports sector, into our grassroots clubs and leagues. So I know Sport England are certainly covering those areas, but for a definite immediate thing, Simon, check out last week's webinar. I see you've asked me to share. Please do drop clubs program at thefa.com and email, and then I can pick that up from there. Please do check out Club Matters resource as well, all around club people and club volunteering. I think that's it in terms of questions. Charlotte, Darren, thank you ever so much. Thank you for sharing your contact details as well. It's both very kind of you. Charlotte, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the call for the last 4 weeks. I know we've had some regular attendees, and I'm sure they'll all join me in thanking you for your dedication over the last 4 weeks, the spot-on information that you've delivered, the time that you've given pre and post webinar to support these, They are 100% going to be available now for the foreseeable future. So from me, on behalf of everyone at the Grassroots Clubs and Leagues Network, thank you very much for your insight. It's been absolutely fantastic.
Well, no, thank you for the opportunity, and thank you to everyone that's tuned in. It's been so rewarding and gratifying to see messages and to see how people have taken it and implemented it, and to Darren and all the others that have joined us along the way. It's been really, really good. So thank you.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak to everybody. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you.
Great stuff. Thanks, Darren. And again, my thanks to you for joining us and supporting us. So I've already had a question around next week's webinar. We've obviously got some regular attendees, which is absolutely fantastic to see. So the whole month of June, we are looking at community engagement. Now, I know there are many of you through your club and league networks that have been doing truly outstanding work in the community in current times. We really want to highlight that, but also highlight the importance of how, just because there is a pandemic currently at this moment in time, how that shouldn't discourage you or kind of stop you communicating and connecting with your community post-COVID, because it's going to be some very strange times ahead. So to be able to work together locally, collectively, is going to be so powerful. So we're going to be joined by one of our other consultants, Russ Smith, who has a specialism in this area, and Ross is going to take us through another 4 weeks of community engagement, looking at all different elements. So the information will be shared in due course. It just leaves me to say a huge thank you again for joining us over the last 4 weeks. If it's your first time this evening, thank you very much for joining us. All the details from this evening and future webinars will be shared in due course. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you for tuning in to the FA Football Forum. If you like this episode and you want any more information, please visit thefa.com/clubs and leagues or email clubsprogram@thefa.com. If you want a monthly dose of this content, be sure to search the Grassroots Football Hub on YouTube or find In the Box on your favourite podcast provider. This is the podcast supporting grassroots clubs and leagues be the best places to play and enjoy the game.